Jake and Daniel, welcome to the first episode of Trigger Point, the FFL Business Podcast. My name's Kevin Wasmansky, and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Trident FFL Software. And today we've got the two head honchos here, Mr. Jake Newbold, President and CEO, and Daniel Peterson, Chief Operations Officer of Trident FFL Software. How you guys doing today?
Good, Kevin. Thanks for having us, man, on here.
All right. I know you've been wanting to do this for a while, so I can see how excited Daniel is to be here. So, hey, so this is our first episode here, guys.
My excited face, Kevin.
That's your excited face. So, first episode, getting to know Jake and Daniel, and really, what's the story behind Trident One? So let's just jump into this. Give me some just an opening personal background. Jake, why don't you start us off? Give us a little bit of background about what you did. Go back to the beginning here when you were younger, and just give us a little background how you got to where you are.
Sure. So grew up very rural area, Eastern Ohio, about 10, 15 minutes from the tri-border of Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Ohio. Raised by a single mother. Kind of closest neighbor was maybe a mile and a half away type thing, dirt road up in the hills kind of thing. Very small town. I went to school had maybe 1,500 people in the town. And I had two brothers with me. I'm the middle one. Got an older brother, 4 years older than me, younger brother, 11 months younger than me. So all three of us kind of grew up heavy into sports, football, basketball, track, all the kind of main sports type stuff growing up. Humble upbringing, didn't really have much, and knew I wasn't going to probably go to college because I just didn't have the money for it. My family didn't come from, well-off means. And then my older brother kind of led the charge and very military, a lot of uncles that were in the military and kind of knew from an early age, wanted to serve our country. So my older brother actually went into the Navy and ended up going into the SEAL team. So we kind of knew around, I'd say I was probably maybe 10, 12 years old, that was kind of the route that looked super cool, with very team aspect type thing. And it looked kind of, back then the SEAL teams weren't like it is today where it's on every news channel, every book, everything. It was kind of more secretive. So it was pretty appealing back then. So my older brother paved the way and gave me a lot of good advice. I had enlisted in the Navy my junior year in high school, actually. So I knew I was going into the Navy before my senior year, and obviously prepping for that and prepping to get to the SEAL teams. It's a little different now how the pipeline goes, but long story short, you had to try out to take the SEAL training test or SEAL qualification test or whatever in boot camp. So I did that. Luckily passed barely. Swimming wasn't my strong suit growing up in Ohio with not many oceans around or whatever. But I was able to pass. So ended up going into BUDS, Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL Training, Class 219 back in 1998. And then ended up, I never planned on doing 20 years. 20 years is a minimum to retire from the military. My plan was to do maybe 8 years and then get my college paid for with the GI Bill, get out and go to college and do something different. But, I was making rank fast. I was having a hell of a fun time. This is, kind of pre 9/11 at the time, but I just, when you're jumping out of airplanes for a living and working out and working with some of the most professional, just high-speed people on the planet, like, how could I go anywhere else? So I just made it a career and floated around on the East Coast, SEAL Teams 4, SEAL Team 8. The war kicked off, went to Iraq, then went and was a BUDS instructor, basic underwater demolition SEAL training. It's like the training to become a SEAL. That's where I first met Mr. Peterson here. It was when I was a BUDS instructor of third phase. He can tell you about that. And then I went back to after BUDS, after being an instructor, I went back to the East Coast, went to SEAL Team 8, and then Daniel and I actually deployed together in Afghanistan. I was the platoon chief of our last deployment, actually. And then went and did one more tour out in San Diego, switched coasts again, and then a training tour. And at that time, I was planning to get out. I was planning to go to grad school and got lucky to get accepted to a very good grad school with Cornell University and the Johnson School. And then I basically went on terminal leave and retired 1 month from before graduating grad school. And then I had a quick stint at JP Morgan Chase here in Dallas, Texas, moved to Dallas, Texas, and did 3 years as in the commercial bank, investment banking, got all licensed for investment banking, and did more on the commercial side doing energy finance with like high yield corporate companies, oil companies, upstream. And then, and then we kind of pushed over to the Trident thing. We can go into that in more detail, but that's in a nutshell my background.
Yeah, I didn't know you had a brother that served in the teams too, Jake.
Both my brothers are still. My younger brother followed my footsteps and my older brother's footsteps. So 3 of them. You say that the Newbold name to any SEAL, and for the most part, they at least know of us. Not that we were anything special, but it's unique to have three brothers, and Daniel comes from that lineage sort of as well. So
really? All right, Daniel.
Y'all covered about 30 years of. There's about 60 years worth of Newbolds in the teams, overlapping. That's cool.
All right, Daniel. So let's hear it, man. So what's your background? Where'd you grow up? And tell us kind of how you from growing up to getting into the serving in the Navy.
Well, the growing up part, I'm still working on that, but I was raised in northern Louisiana. Younger brother, about 2 years younger than me. So we grew up doing what you do in Louisiana is playing football, baseball, a lot of the same things Jake was kind of talking about. Very rural, small town where if you don't know everybody, you sure recognize everyone, that you're living with there. So I spent a lot of time in the outdoors, hunting and fishing. And so those were definitely played a part in, some of my passions that I continue today. But being from those smaller communities like that, there's if you have any plans on getting out, there's a couple different ways. For me, it was athletics. So early on, I kind of gravitated towards the football and baseball aspect, and wasn't really sure what I was going to do in terms of like what do you do for a living, go to college for. But football kind of provided a path for me, and so I went and played a little bit of college football locally here in North Louisiana. And then for me, it was, I guess one of the things that kind of changed for me was I got hurt during a game. I blew my knee up on September the 8th, 2001. And so that was very interesting timing, because obviously the following Tuesday, for September 11th, towers come down, and then the whole world changed on that day. So at the time I was probably 21. I think I was about 21. Yeah. 21, somewhere in there. So, when that happened, there was the reaction that I would say the majority of America had of like, hey, this just went down, and then it's a matter of, how can I help? How can I be a part of what's to come, if you will? So for me, I guess the seed of military service was planted early on with the things that I enjoyed doing, and not necessarily knowing, what I was going to do as a profession growing up. So that was kind of planted at that point where athletics was kind of off the table. A lot of the same things like Jake mentioned, a lot of the qualities that you don't really understand that you're getting when you're playing team sports, that kind of sticks with you. And so wanting to be a part of a team, being able to contribute, do your part, in achieving the goal or winning the game or whatever that may be, it latched on early on. So from that, I was kind of faced with finishing my college degree. So I kind of got my stuff together, finished that. I actually graduated with a construction management degree because I thought I was going to work in that world for a while. So I dabbled in that. That started taking me outside of Louisiana into the adjoining states. So I spent some time in Texas and Oklahoma, and then in 2004 I had another. In 2006 had another kind of triggering situation in life that happened, and unfortunately, one of my brother's best friends had joined the Navy, and at the time I didn't know this, but he had gone through the pipeline, but he was actually a corpsman with a Marine unit, and he was killed in Iraq in 2006. And so being that, he and my brother were best of friends for, the years that they were able to kind of spend together, very close. And so I immediately saw that, with that loss, I kind of saw the fire in my brother's eyes as well, where he was in the middle of college. He was getting ready to, very similar. We didn't know what we were going to do. We're in college playing ball, but when that happened, it was another calling for him of, I'm going to go and serve. So long story short, I ended up convincing him to just finish his degree because we were well along. And at the time I had my degree and I was working. I said, hey man, finish your degree, and then when you get done, let me do some looking into some of the programs that are out there. And he actually graduated in August of 2008. In September of 2008, we were both standing in the recruiter's office. At the time, I was 26 or 27 years old, and he was 24, 25, something like that. But I was quickly gaining on the cutoff line to participate in any type of special programs. So if it gives you any kind of timeline here. So Jake had about a 10 or 11 year head start in his career as I was beginning mine. So from that point we joined, and so we joined together. We were able to kind of go through the pipeline together. He ended up having an eye surgery, and so that actually put me ahead of my brother in the pipeline, which I actually met Instructor Newbold about a class or two ahead of my brother. So I kind of I tried to tell my brother, it's like, man, I tried to make it a little bit easier for you, but I'm pretty sure I did the direct opposite, going through the pipeline. Because all you have once you join is your name and your word, and instructors remember names. So blessed to get through that, injury free, went straight through, and it was, met a lot of great dudes through that we still continue to be in touch today. But from that, I checked into SEAL Team 8 and did a couple of deployments over there, and then the last one that we did, like Jake was talking about, we made a run through Afghanistan, where he he was the platoon chief, and I was one of his team leads for the recce side. And so pretty much from that, I mean, pretty much from I guess we would call it about a San Clemente Island introduction, and then we've kind of just been running and gunning since then. So here we are.
Man, I learned a lot. So I did not. So Daniel, when you went through, Jake was one of your instructors.
He was, and he continues to be. That's the funny thing. It's like I can't shake him, man. But he
his
was
his younger brother too.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
Man, I didn't.
So,
is that before we move on
to team, basically the platoon chief. So, and now we get the opportunity to continue that working relationship here at Trident One.
Well, that's a good segue, Daniel. Let's jump into the Trident One story here. So I guess my question, so how did Trident One happen? And like, what was the moment or the frustration that made you guys say, we need to look at this. We need to do something here. So Jake, let's throw that one your way first.
Yeah. So I guess backing up, in 2011, myself and some few other SEALs started we had a catastrophic incident in Afghanistan called Mission Extortion 17, where a group of SEALs were going in to rescue some Army Rangers that were pinned down in Afghanistan, the Wardak province, and they were shot down. The CH-46, Chuck was shot down by an RPG and instantly lost, 17 SEALs, 33 souls, and one pop. So one of them happened to be my very best friend at the time, Chief Kevin Houston. And we basically got together with my first platoon chief, my first officer in charge of my first platoon, got together and formed a nonprofit foundation called the SEAL Legacy Foundation. Since then, we've grown. I mean, we were 15, 16 years into it now, but we've had the blessing of providing a lot of need for SEALs and their families. There is a lot of need out there, and I guess in saying that, fast forward, I've started frequenting Houston and Dallas, Texas a lot, because that's where it's still active duty, but that's where a lot of our events were being held. And I got to meet a lot of our donors and become very close to them over, as the years went by, over multiple years. And one of them I met who is the chairman of our private equity company that sponsors that, basically major shareholder of Trident One. He's been a huge donor with us since the beginning of the SEAL Legacy Foundation, 2011. And he had approached me. I was working at the bank at the time and got out, and he had approached me about, he had a big background in credit card processing and has built multiple companies and done very well with those, and wanted to get into another industry and kind of provide the credit card processing, but has floating around the idea of we had looked at we were talking, going to lunch and stuff. We talked about, hey man, the firearms industry. We'd done some research, started doing some research, and very passionate gun guy, growing up shooting guns and hunting and fishing like Daniel, and the tabloids at the time with gun stores being under attack, from whatever the flavor of the month was, with whatever industry or administration which was in the office, pro guns, anti-guns, whatever. And the firearms industry was getting attacked as far as you can't blatantly take away somebody's Second Amendment, but you can make it damn near hard for them to get guns or use guns. You can make rifles, semi-automatic to basically have to be single shot kind of deal. Well, we found that the firearms industry didn't really have a software solution that provided a true all-in-one solution that streamlined all operations of an FFL, Federal Firearms Licensee, their operations into one platform, and also provide the compliance piece to keep them out of trouble with the ATF, right? That's their license on the shelf there running their business. And also, just provide the market something that was solely focused on firearms retailers and shooting ranges, not fragmented in many different industries. There wasn't something out there that solely focused on that. And a lot of antiquated systems existed as well. So I guess fast forward, we decided to, or our private equity sponsors decided, hey, they wanted to get into that industry, and they approached me about building a team and coming on board and becoming the president, CEO, and just running with it. Obviously, I didn't know shit about software. I don't pretend to know much about it now. Obviously, I know a lot more than before I started this venture. But I decided to come on board. I left JP Morgan in 2019, and then before I left, I was already trying to figure out, how am I going to build this team? How am I going to structure it? Where, what do we need? I don't know any software developers. I don't know, so we ended up partnering with a team here in South Lake outside of Dallas initially, and to get the architecture of the platform built out. And then I went to work hiring and building the team. And that's kind of where we're at now. We officially launched at SHOT Show. I mean, we had a couple kind of beta clients prior to that. But SHOT Show 2020 out in Las Vegas is when we kind of officially launched the company, brand and everything else. And that's, I don't know, fill in any blanks, Daniel, that I might have missed.
Yeah. Let me ask. So you guys had served together. So how did Daniel get on the Trident 1 team here?
Well, I'll give you my 2 cents. So I came on board, and I was like, this is freaking cool. It was scary because I didn't know, again, I'm not a software guy, right? But the industry is so near and dear to my heart that working with like-minded patriots at large at these gun stores and shooting ranges, I felt like I was back in the teams. I'm like, these guys, this is my cup of tea. Like, these are my type of people, this industry. I love it. So, Daniel had moved to Dallas and was working. He was working in construction management, what his degree was. But I was slowly kind of feeding him, bits and pieces. Like, dude, this is it, man. You got to come on board, kind of thing. I'm like, how about I bring you out to SHOT Show in 2020? Let's go out there together in Vegas and let's just see for yourself, kind of thing. And we went out there, and we were bombarded with people. Like, we've been waiting for you guys. We've heard about it. It's a true solution. And like the interest from the market was just daunting. And it was really a blessing. And then Daniel can kind of take it from there of kind of how he came on board. Yeah.
So if you noticed, he was continuing to use those buds and structure techniques on me. He's like, I think I'm making a decision for myself, but actually all I'm doing is just, I'm going and standing in the surf exactly where he wanted to. I think for me, and Jake brought up a bunch of good points here. I mean, a lot of stuff that it's funny. It starts taking you back through some memories that it feels like it was, a long time ago, but it was a lot more recent. But after I got back from that last deployment, right? So I ended up separating from the Navy at that point. I think, Jake had a couple more stints he had to do to complete his 20. But there was kind of this time where it's like once you're getting out, of the military, and it's especially out of the teams and stuff, it's like a lot of the guys that are still in are very curious to know what you're about to go and do, because there's the mystique of, well, you've done this, and now, there's just going to be headhunters sitting at the gate just waiting to offer you, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's like, so I kind of went through like for me, I had my degree to kind of fall back on. And since I was, the same age or getting the same or close to the same age as Jake, I mean, a lot of the guys, when they get out with that many years of service, that's like retirement age relative to the teams. Well, I was coming out with like 6 years of service, right, at the same age. So in saying all that, it's like the question kept popping in my head. It's like, man, what do you do after having the coolest job in the world? Like, what job do you take next, right? And that was something that, it took me a little while, because I got out of the construction industry to go into the military. And now I'm getting out of the military, but I'm not getting out of the military to get back into it. And so that there was a lot of uncertainty on kind of what happens next. And for me, that's why I was so very appreciative of the SEAL Legacy Foundation, because I had that connection with Jake, and Jake goes, hey man, this is something you should kind of get involved with, because it provided that sense of camaraderie, and it helped me, from a networking perspective. Like I didn't have any problem talking shop while in Afghanistan, but that's a much different dialect you have to speak in the civilian market, and kind of learning that. So kind of assimilating with professionals in the different industries and kind of seeing what that's like. So I was actually able to be introduced, unbeknownst to me at the time, I didn't know it, but I was actually introduced to the ownership of the group well before Trident 1 was even a thing. And that was through that process of kind of transitioning. And so from that standpoint, like Jake was talking about, I kind of got back on the horse and started contributing to society again. I was working a little bit, got over in Dallas, and we just continued that. We continued the conversation of, hey man, how are you doing? Right? What's going on with your life? How's your work going? Because once you kind of have that shared experience in the teams, like, even though you're not in the same platoon hut every day, you still you need that amongst the brotherhood. You keep up, and we ended up kind of becoming our own, support group, if you will, just through friendship. And since I got back over there to Dallas, just in conversations, like, hey man, I'm doing this thing. And he would talk about, the work that he's doing downtown in his suit at JP. And I was talking about the stuff I was doing with my steel toes and hard hat on. And I was like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Just like, it makes you feel like you're just kind of going through the motions. And of course, life changes. You get family and kids and responsibilities. And it was just such a different shift from what we were doing, running and gunning, to, sitting on the tollway waiting to get home, and so when he kind of hit me with this, he's like, listen, man, like, can't tell you a great deal about it right now, but would you like to go to Las Vegas? I said, yep. Yep, count me in. He said guns in Vegas and paid for it. I went, I mean, who? Absolutely. And so I was so very appreciative of it, because of course my wife is, we were two very, very, I think the girls they were not even a year old yet. I got, two newborn, not even 1 year old. And I was like, hey honey,
twin girls.
Jake needs me to go to Vegas for 5 days and this gun show. It's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, what? Like, you could just, if it's like, even telling the truth sounded like it wasn't telling the truth. But I mean, I came back from that, and to kind of reiterate what Jake was saying, it's like, you just felt like you were where you were supposed to be around the people that you go. That was something that I was missing. When I was doing all this work, it was just very transactional, but it actually made you feel like, you were welcomed in the industry, and it was like-minded individuals. And, there's a great deal of veterans that come out on the special operations side, that a lot of them, work with all the different manufacturers and the equipment stuff that we were working with, while active duty. So you also get to see a lot of those guys as well. But the coolest part to me about it was that there was a true need, like Jake was saying. Like, there were people that were seeking us out, and it made me want to learn about software in the gun industry, because there was that, you could tell there was a need for it. And so it was a responsibility that we didn't take lightly, to go, you know what, we can put our effort behind this to serve the purpose of serving the, others in the industry. And so that's kind of where it started. And it's crazy to see where it's gone since, 2020 wasn't the greatest year to, start a new business. I'm pretty sure we were at the origin of
Chinese New Year.
Yeah, it was the year of the something. But
so that's a great segue into my next question, and it's really, in one or two sentences, what's the mission of Trident One? If you're going to go tell a gun store owner, someone that owns a shooting range, and they ask, what's the mission of Trident One? What would you tell them?
Well, I mean, we have our mission statement and our vision statement, and we live by it daily. I mean, our mission to provide unrivaled commerce software tailored specifically for the firearms industry by delivering a modernized, fully integrated solution to aid retailers in streamlining operations and maximizing efficiencies. And so, I mean, that's our mission statement. That's what we're doing. We want to provide a point of sale, all-in-one ERP solution that provides Second Amendment friendly credit card processing to help streamline everything that a firearms retailer or shooting range needs to run their operations, keep their compliance, inventory management, everything, just everything that we can do, and we that we can think of. There's always something that new that pops up, but like providing just an innovative solution that helps make their job a lot easier, and our vision statement as well, I think, is powerful, that we make the guys live by this stuff. And if not, we've had to get rid of some folks that didn't, to become the firearm industry's leading retail software, providing by targeting and replacing antiquated systems with a modernized omni-channel solution that streamlines operations and improves business efficiencies. And Trident One strives for continuous innovation to deliver a best-in-class product at an affordable price while providing legendary customer service to our dear customers. And we live by that. I mean, this is written in blood for us, right? We're not perfect, but I think we're doing it better than anyone else. I mean, I don't think I can tell it better than what our actual mission statement is.
Yeah. Well said, Jake. Well said. So then my follow-up question to that, and we're gonna see how Daniel handles this one. What do you want a gun store owner or range owner to know about the people behind the software? Like, what drives the team every day?
That's a great question. I mean, in conjunction with, the mission statement. So we take a lot of the lessons in the architecture of what did it mean to be successful in the teams and in the military, right? So we're trying to take all the things that made us successful as active duty operators, and then also try to push out the things that maybe we thought at the time weren't the most efficient. So, I mean, I think in our industry, I recognize very quickly that, as a whole, this is a close-knit community of business owners, right? It's a small network that word of mouth is everything. Very similar to, in the teams, it's like your reputation preceded yourself, right? So if you weren't an operator up to standards. Like typically people knew that about those operators before they ever put eyes on them. So when we're talking to gun stores, I think one, you have to you have to put yourself in the mindset that if we're going to take on the responsibility of providing a service to a business that it could be their sole livelihood, right? It could be in a hobby, whatever it may be, but it's serious enough to them for them to be entering into it. And they need to know that the people that are working for them to help them, figure out the problems that they have now, but then also help set them on a path for success. We take it as serious, as they do, right? And so I think with the team members that we have and the ones that are continuing to kind of be attracted to what we're doing is that they want to be a part of something that is of service, that is purposeful, and the problem solving aspect of this is something where if we can help people better their business and while doing so, grow our own, I think that's kind of the first thing that we try to start with when we're kind of talking to customers, and I think they get that impression from us because it's even though we're growing continually, we still keep it very personable, to the point where we all answer our phones when our partners call. You know what I mean? It feels like you're doing business with one of your friends. It's like that's what we're doing. Is we're creating partnerships through business as opposed to just the whole client provider relationship.
One of the things that I just think so dang cool is most of the people that I've met in Trident 1, they're former military, they're former law enforcement. Some of them are still in reserve. So, I mean, I've gone to gun stores my whole life. I, enjoyed that stuff too. And so it's, you find that when you're talking to people that actually know what they're talking about, not just somebody that knows how to run a POS system or something like that, it makes a difference. So, speak on that just real quick. I think that's a pretty neat thing that I don't think we should gloss over. I mean, there's so many, it's like a software built by gun guys for gun guys. So, I mean, I think that's pretty cool. Do you have any info on that?
Yeah, I can chime in on that one. I mean, listen, coming from the SEAL teams where you're working with such high caliber, professional individuals, some of the most, if not the most, on the face of the planet, it's really, I've learned over, just leading many different platoons through combat that it's imperative. It's absolutely the number one most important thing for a company is its personnel and the culture you build, within your company. And that has to be the team. Right. And so, I mean, Daniel's super humble, but I mean, he was my first pick because, I mean, he's a Silver Star recipient. Like, I don't want to blow his head up, but pretty much a war hero. The dude is a stud. And I know that firsthand because we were in combat together. We were in multiple different combat with bullets flying overhead and the guys like saving lives and stuff. So obviously, like, having your number two guy, like being somebody of that type of caliber it's a blessing, right? So that he was my first hire. And then we went to work doing the same thing. Like, hey, we don't know software guys, but like we know the people that do, right? And then I've personally interviewed and hired every single employee we have. I think we're close to 30, 40 folks by now, if you count our development team and our payments processing team. But largely, like you said, largely like yourself, largely former military, right? I think we got a strong fire team of Navy SEALs. We got 5 or 6 SEALs who we've all worked with. Just hired another one like 2 weeks ago, who's still active in the reserves. We have Army Rangers, Army Special Forces Green Beret guy. We've had female Army medic, Air Force female firefighter, that former Air Force firefighter. We have National Guard guys, and then we have a lot of law enforcement guys as well. So
don't forget my beloved Marine Corps, Jake.
And the Marine Corps. We got a couple of Marine Corps. You're not the only Marine. We got a couple.
I know.
Yeah. So again, it's a blessing. It really works for us because these guys know, we're running into a lot of our customers are prior military or prior law enforcement. And if they're not, you can bet a lot of their employees or their counter people or their RSOs, range safety officers for the ranges are. And so it does matter when you're talking to, for customer support or for training, for onboarding them, operations, like you can relate a lot, right? It's not some, 50-pound head developer that hasn't been in the shoes. Like we have a lot of our customer support guys have worked in gun stores before and been managers or RSOs and shooting ranges. So building that team was imperative to me to one, operators, military, they get stuff done. Like it might not be a straight line between A and B, but they're going to get there. They're going to get to that from A to B. They're not all, but like most, we've had a couple hiring misses here and there as well. But like largely, like these are the team the culture that we're used to being around. And then switching to the tech side, we've transitioned recently since September to a CONUS-based Silicon Valley development team led by a 36-year developer who's worked at Google, built all Samsung's cloud base out, and these are world-class developers that no competitor in our our line of work can say the same. Now it costs us like 3 times as much as probably what they're paying, but it's the way to go. Like we want to make sure our platform stays innovative and it gives the industry whatever they want. So I'm very proud of the team we built. We're probably 80% military veterans and law enforcement. Like I said, we got 2 SWAT team guys on board, counter drug task force guys that are also on the payroll. That's the thing I'm most happy about as a team. Go ahead.
Yeah, just to kind of support that. I mean, in a nutshell, it's like with former military and law enforcement, like everybody comes from a culture where there's a standard to be upheld, right? Whatever that standard was, and relative to whatever organization you were with or branch of military, but everybody knows walking in the door here, there's a standard that will be maintained and upheld. And second to that, and that kind of speaks to everything he talked about our investment into, world-class technicians to provide the world-class tech. Like if we're going to do this, let's be out on the sharp end of the pointy spear, right? Let's be on the leading edge of that. And the other thing that I would say that makes it a smoother transition is that coming from those different cultures, the importance of communication, and how Jake, I've heard him say this, I guess probably we're working on almost 18 years now or whatever it is. Communication is key, right? So being able to not have to teach those things that are inherent from people coming from those previous organizations, it just makes that contribution to the effort that much more streamlined.
Well said. Well said. That's some great stuff there, guys. So I tell you what, I think that's a great way to wrap up episode 1. And we got some really fun things to talk about in a lot of future episodes. We definitely want to dig into some of the more, technical compliance-based features, because that's what a lot of our clients out there are asking. So anyways, call that a wrap. That was great, guys. I appreciate your time today. I look forward to rolling some more sessions with you guys doing this.
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, appreciate you, Kevin.
We'll see you soon. Take care.
See you guys.